Millionaire's twins drove every nanny away, but the maid did what no one expected. The mansion on the hill was silent that morning, too silent for a place that usually echoed with the wild laughter and screams of two unruly children. Inside, the corridors still bore traces of chaos: a broken vase, spilled cereal, and a torn-up teddy bear left on the marble stairs. The latest nanny had just driven away in tears, her uniform still damp from the bucket of water the twins had, accidentally, dumped over her head. They were only 7 years old, but in the eyes of the household staff, they were little devils wearing designer shoes. Every nanny had sworn never to return. And yet, behind the windows of that mansion, two hearts beat with pain no one had taken the time to understand. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion, then please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Royal Stories, because today's story might just remind you that even the most broken hearts can heal when shown a little love. The twins, Ethan and Emma, were born into a world of privilege. Their father, Alexander Grant, was a millionaire entrepreneur, brilliant in business but absent in life. Their mother, Grace, had died 3 years earlier in a car accident that had shattered not only her family but also the spirit of their home. Since that night, Alexander buried himself in work, hiding his pain behind boardrooms and phone calls. The twins, left to the care of endless strangers, learned one thing: everyone left. Every nanny came with smiles and promises, but within weeks, sometimes days, they quit, defeated by the children's cruel pranks and icy silence. When Maria arrived, no one expected her to last the day. She wasn't like the others: no polished resume, no fancy degree in child psychology. She was a maid from a small village, hired temporarily to clean the house after the last nanny's disastrous exit. Her clothes were plain, her accent heavy, and her eyes held the quiet fatigue of someone who had seen too much hardship to be impressed by marble floors. The staff whispered that she'd never survive the twins' games. But Maria didn't come to the mansion for luxury, she came for survival. Her husband had passed away the previous year, and she needed the money to care for her sick mother and little brother back home. Her first encounter with the twins came unexpectedly. She was dusting the grand piano when a toy car hit her ankle. Ethan stood at the top of the stairs, smirking. "You're supposed to clean, not stand there all day," he said coldly. Emma giggled behind him, hiding her face. Maria didn't scold or shout. She simply looked at him and said softly, "If you wanted my attention, you could have just asked." That answer threw Ethan off balance. He had expected anger or fear, but got neither. Over the next few days, the twins tested her patience. They spilled juice deliberately, hid her cleaning supplies, and even locked her out of the kitchen. The other staff watched from a distance, shaking their heads. But Maria handled every trick with calm resilience. She never raised her voice, never complained to the manager. When the twins locked her out, she simply waited in the hallway, humming an old lullaby until they opened the door out of curiosity. "You're weird," Emma said once. "Everyone else yells." Maria smiled faintly and replied, "Maybe yelling doesn't work. Maybe listening does." Her words lingered in their young minds longer than she knew. That evening, when she passed their bedroom, she heard them whispering, Emma's voice trembling, "Do you think she'll leave too?" Ethan didn't answer, but Maria, standing outside, felt her heart ache. She had seen that kind of fear before, the fear of being left behind. As days turned into weeks, something began to change. Maria started cooking breakfast for them, simple things like pancakes shaped into hearts or animals. At first, they mocked it, but soon they began waiting eagerly at the table each morning. She told them stories from her childhood, about fireflies and monsoon rains, and for the first time in months, laughter filled the mansion. Slowly, she earned their trust, not through authority, but through gentleness. She never treated them like spoiled children. She treated them like human beings who had forgotten what love felt like. One rainy afternoon, everything shifted. The twins were playing in the garden when Ethan tripped and scraped his knee. It wasn't serious, but he screamed out more from panic than pain. Maria rushed out, holding an umbrella, and knelt beside him, pressing a cloth to the wound. "You're okay, sweetheart," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. The word, sweetheart, hit him like thunder. No one had called him that since his mother died. He burst into tears and clung to her, sobbing into her shoulder. Emma joined too, and for a long time, all three of them stayed there under the rain, two broken children and one woman who understood loss better than anyone. From that day on, Maria became more than a maid. She was their anchor. She taught them kindness, empathy, and patience. She helped them write little letters to their late mother, which they placed under the big oak tree in the garden. Alexander, however, barely noticed. His world revolved around meetings and deadlines, and though he loved his children deeply, he didn't know how to show it anymore. But one night, he came home early. He heard laughter from the living room, the sound of his children playing charades with Maria. For the first time in years, he saw them smiling without mischief. He stood in the doorway silently, watching, something tightening in his chest. Over the next few weeks, Alexander found himself drawn toward them. He started eating dinner at home again, sometimes joining in their games. Slowly, the mansion began to feel alive once more. The twins talked to him, shyly at first, then freely. And every time he looked at Maria, gratitude filled his eyes. One evening, he asked her why she stayed when everyone else had given up. She simply said, "Because someone once believed in me when I didn't deserve it. I just returned the favor." But not every story is without hardship. One day, Maria received a letter from her village. Her mother had taken a turn for the worse. She tried to hide her tears, but the twins saw. That night, they crept into her small servant's room, holding a piggy bank filled with coins and dollar bills. "You can use this to go see your mom," Emma whispered. Maria broke down completely, hugging them both, unable to speak. The next morning, Alexander called her to his office. He had already read the letter. "Go," he said simply. "Take care of your family. Your place here will wait." She left for 2 months. During that time, the twins wrote her letters every week, and she replied with small notes filled with love and encouragement. When she returned, they ran to her at the gates, shouting her name, holding flowers they'd picked from the garden. The mansion staff watched in awe. Those wild, unmanageable children had changed. They helped the cooks, treated the maids with respect, and even placed a photo of their late mother and Maria side by side in their room. Years later, when the twins grew up and graduated with honors, Maria sat proudly in the audience, tears in her eyes. Alexander, sitting beside her, whispered, "You didn't just save them, Maria. You saved all of us." She smiled softly, her heart full. Sometimes, miracles don't come with wings, they come with aprons, tired eyes, and hearts big enough to heal others. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. And subscribe to Royal Stories for more tales that remind us that love, patience, and kindness can change everything.